Chapter 6, Lesson 4, Notes. The linear equation in the slope-intercept form. The slope is the constant rate of change between 2 points on a line. We have been working with the constant rate of change in finding the change in y over change in x. The y-intercept of the line is the y-coordinate at which the line crosses the y-axis. You will start recognizing M as the slope and B as the y-intercept. This point is the y-intercept. It is where the given line crosses the y-axis. The slope is using the triangle that we were using a couple of days ago to find the constant rate of change. So I will pick 2 points along our line. It can be any 2 points. Draw my triangle above the line. This is the change in y, and this is the change in x. The change in y is going up by 1, 2, 3, 4. The change in x is going by 1, 2. It is positive because it does go to the right. 4 divided by 2 is 2. The y-intercept that we found is at the coordinate 0, 1. So now we have our y-intercept and our slope. If you will recognize, the equation is y equals 2x, which is our slope. So we have our slope, which was found by making our triangle. And we have our y-intercept, which is the value of y where it crosses the x-axis. Let's take a look at a couple of examples to see if we can make sense of this. Let's go through 1 through 5 and highlight the slope that is next to the variable in blue. So for number 1, I'm going to highlight the 4, the 3, the negative 1/2, the 4, and the negative 5. Therefore, the slope on each of these, M equals 4, M equals 3, M equals negative 1/2, M equals 4, and for number 5, M equals negative 5. Let's go with the purple and highlight the y-intercept. Number 1, 5, 2 is 10, 3 does not have 1, 4 is negative 5, and 5 is negative 4. It may be a little bit hard to see on the screen, but you should still be able to see it on your paper. So let's go through on 1 through 5 and write the y-intercept. B equals 5, B equals 10, B equals 0. There is an invisible 0 This also means that this is a proportional relationship. Number 4, b equals -5. And number 5, b equals -4. Does anybody have any questions at this time? Let's take a look at 6 through 10 and see if some of you can come up to the board and identify the slope and the y-intercept. Now that we can identify the slope and y-intercept in the slope-intercept form of a linear equation, we are going to look at graphing the linear equation. Step 1 is to determine the slope and the y-intercept. We determined our slope as the m in blue and the y-intercept in purple. You graph the y-intercept first. The y-intercept is the b, which is found at 0, b, meaning b is the y-intercept, but it is the number on the y-axis. 3, we're going to write the slope as a fraction of rise over run, and we will use it to locate another point on the line. Think M for move. So remember, when we created our triangle, we'll be using that same concept to locate the next point. Then you draw a line connecting the 2 points. Let's take a look at number 1 and 2. Number 1, the first thing we do is identify the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 3, and the slope is 2. So when we are identifying the y-intercept, this is 0, 3, and our slope, it says to write it as 2 over 1. Because we're going to be going up 2 and right 1. So let's graph our y-intercept. It's 0, positive 3, then our slope is positive 2 over 1. And although it looks like our line's going to be a little bit off the graph, we'll go ahead and give it a try anyway. So I'm going to go up 2, right 1. So this will be the next point that we can use. You can use anything with a straight edge to draw your line. I'm going to use a flashcard. So if I connect these 2 points, my line would go all the way through the graph, just like this. It's okay if you're plotting points that are a little bit off the graph. We will just make the best estimate that we can. It's still going to create a straight line, and it's still going to look good. Let's see if we can do the same for number 2. You have your y-intercept and your slope. You will write the y-intercept as a coordinate of 0, 1, and our slope as a fraction of rise over run. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept first at 0, 1. Then I'm going to find my next point at 3 up, 1 right. So I'm going to go up 3 and go right 1. And using whatever straight edge I can, I'm going to connect my 2 dots and have my line. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Would anybody like to try number 3? Would anybody like to try number 4? May I get a couple of volunteers to do 5 and 6 as well? Would anybody like to do number 7 and 8? Now let's take a look at writing the slope-intercept form from a word problem. The slope is a rate. Your slope is in the problem. The following are examples of a rate. This number is always related to the x value because it is the value that changes. Per is a key word that is often associated with slope. You might see per, each, anything that is consistent over time. Some examples is $3 per day, $2 an hour, which can also be written as $2 per hour, $5 per person, or $6 a minute, which is also $6 per minute. The Y-intercept is a flat fee. That is your Y-intercept. The value is constant. It never changes. Some of the things that you might see with the Y-intercept is a beginning balance. A one-time fee. You might see a registration fee. You might see a sign-up fee. It's any amount that you pay initially, then either pay more per month or accept per month. Let's take a look at example number 1. It said, Rod is paid an overtime rate of $25 an hour. Now remember, we have an example up here that says $2 an hour, so $25 an hour is our slope. After he earns his basic wage of $600 per week, write an equation in the slope-intercept form for the total pay for the week, Y, if he works X hours. So I know this one's kind of confusing because you also see that it says $600 per week. But pay attention to the fact that our question's also asking about an equation that represents that week. So this, in turn, would be our Y-intercept. So if we have M equals 25, B equals 600, then we can write our equation as Y equals 25x plus 600. Do we have any questions at this time for writing the slope-intercept form of a linear equation on number 1? Let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 says your cell phone bill is $35 per month plus 5 cents per text. Write a linear equation in slope-intercept form to represent this situation. Now, again, we are faced with the fact that it does say $35 per month and 5 cents per text. What this question is asking is to represent this situation each month or for a month. So, for this one, our Y-intercept is going to be the $35 we spend on our monthly bill. And our slope is going to be the additional amount we pay in text messages. So we have a slope of 0.05. You have the Y-intercept of 35. Therefore, our equation can be y equals 0.05 times x plus 35. Does anyone have any questions about number 2? Let's get a couple of volunteers to see if we can do number 3 and 4 as a class.